Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So happy to have you here joining me for another video. It's been a while, right? So yeah, I recently moved to a new apartment and this was already like a month ago now. And I was really fighting with the internet connection for like all these weeks. So now it's finally working. And it's still a bit like up and down, like it's not working all the time, but at least it does work. So I'm finally here with another video. My apologies for the long break, but this was out of my control. So today we're going to be talking about a very recent case which just happened about a month ago. And we're going to be talking about the 4 homicides on the University of Idaho students who were taken out of their lives so senselessly and way too soon. Now this case, as I just mentioned, it happened in November of this year, 2022, and it is unsolved until now, but the internet is literally blowing up. Like all social media, Reddit, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere you look you will see this case and you will find thousands of theories and a couple of suspects who are named in this case as well. Until now, I do believe the police do not have any suspect in mind, nor any persons of interest. They are still investigating, they are still at the scene almost every day, trying to find some evidence. But the theories are literally blowing up the internet right now. So I hope this video doesn't get too messy. I'm gonna try my best to make it as structured as possible. But I have to say we do not have that much information as of now. Not much has been released to the public yet. However, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give a quick rundown on what happened. We're gonna be talking about the investigation so far of whatever is accessible to the public. We're gonna quickly run over the theories, but really briefly, because I do not want to go much into speculations as of now, and I'm gonna tell you also why. And of course we're gonna remember the 4 victims who were taken way too soon. On the late morning of Sunday, November 13, 2022, exactly at 11:58 a.m., a 911 call was made out of a 3-story rented house in the town of Moscow, Idaho. The caller was one of the residents in the home, and they reported to have seen a person lying unconscious in the 2nd floor of the home. When the paramedics arrived to the house, they did not discover any unconscious person. However, they ran into a brutal crime scene of 4 murder victims. The 4 victims, whose bodies were found in the 2nd and 3rd floor of the 3-story home, were 21-year-old Kaylee, 21-year-old Maddie, 20-year-old Zena, and Zena's boyfriend Ethan, who was also 20 years old. All 4 of the victims attended the University of Idaho, which was located in the town of Moscow. So in this rented house, which was, as I said, 3 stories. There was the 1st floor, 2nd floor, and 3rd floor. It was rented out to a total of 6 female students, which 2 of them were living in the 1st floor, 2 of them in the 2nd floor, and 2 of them in the 3rd floor. One of the 6 students was not at all at the home at this time. I am not sure if she was just out for the night or she was out for a longer period of time. So it was the 5 residents in the house, and there was Zena's boyfriend Ethan, who would frequently sleep over at the house. Both of the students who lived on the 1st floor, they did not even wake up during the attack. They did not see anything, they did not hear anything. They were just in a very deep sleep, it seemed, at this point. But once they woke up the following morning, one of them placed the 911 call. The rooms of the 4 students who were killed during the attack were located on 2nd and 3rd floor. It were the rooms of Kaylee, Maddie, and Zena, and as well as I mentioned, Zena's boyfriend Ethan stayed over the night as well. In the hours leading up to the attack, all 4 students spent the night out. They were out in pairs. Zena and her boyfriend Ethan attended a fraternity party, which was hosted in the Sigma Chi fraternity of the University of Idaho. At approximately 1:34 a.m., early morning on November 13, the couple went back to the house where Zena was living. The same evening, Kaylee and Maddie, who were actually best friends since their childhood, went out together to a local sports bar. It is said that they were departed from the sports bar and made their way home at 1:30 a.m. On their way home, the 2 girls stopped by a local food truck to get something to eat on the way. And there is actually surveillance footage from the food truck which shows the girls ordering their carbonara, I guess it was, and waiting there for approximately 10 minutes to receive their food. On the footage you can see that the food truck was fairly busy at that time, so there was a lot of young people standing around the truck, most probably all of them students of the University of Idaho, and there was quite a crowd waiting there for their food and chatting with each other, just having a good time returning from some party to go home now. You can also see a man standing alone, and it seems like this man is watching the girls, like he is watching Kaylee and Maddie while they were standing waiting for their food. Once Kaylee and Maddie are leaving the food truck, you can see that the man is quickly heading into the same direction as the girls. However, it is believed that by now the investigators know the identity of this man, and apparently he is not a person of interest in this case. The manager of the food truck would later say that the 2 girls did not seem to be in any kind of distress or that they felt to be in any danger at the time. The Moscow Police Department confirmed that Kaylee and Maddie received a ride home from a private party, which we do not have any further information on at this point. It is reported that all 4 students were back at home at 1:56 a.m. Also, the surviving 2 students, who also went out the evening prior to the attack, were said to be at home at 1 a.m. Now, after Kaylee and Maddie reached their home, there were several phone calls outgoing from both Kaylee's and Maddie's phone, and they were trying to reach Kaylee's ex-boyfriend Jack. All of the calls went unanswered, indicating that Jack was probably asleep at that time, as all of the calls were made between 2 and 3 a.m. Police later also confirmed that they believe the calls have nothing to do with the crime itself, and also Jack was ruled out as a possible suspect. The calls were probably just the result of a night out, when you're partying, when you're drinking, and Kaylee probably wanted to talk to her ex-boyfriend for some reason, but as I said, Jack was also ruled out as a suspect at all. Now, due to the phone calls stopping around 3 a.m. that night, it is believed that the victims have been stabbed to death between 3 and 4 a.m. The surviving 2 students were not waken up by the attack at all, which is why there was no 911 call recorded until the 2 girls woke up. They discovered the unconscious person at that time, what they thought, and the first 911 call was made at 11:58 a.m. So when police arrived at the scene, they did not find any signs of forced entry to the home. There was no damage to any objects in the home or to any doors, any windows, and there was also no missing items. Due to no signs of forced entry to the home, it could be concluded that the victims either knew their attacker or they just left the door open so anyone could come in. However, the current strongest belief of investigators is that the attacker made their way through a sliding glass door on the 2nd floor, which also kind of concludes why the 2 students on the 1st floor were not woken up by the attack, because probably the attacker did not even enter to the 1st floor at all, and they just went in on the 2nd floor directly. Apart from the 2 surviving students on the 1st floor, investigators also found the dog on the scene, The dog belonged to Kaylee, and she shared the dog together with her ex-boyfriend Jack. And the dog, at least he was unharmed, and he was given over to a family member. All 4 victims have been pronounced dead on the scene by 12 p.m. Now, the investigation into the murders was conducted by a total of 130 members of law enforcement, which was the Moscow Police, the Idaho State Police, the Lader County Sheriff's Office, as well as the FBI. A tip line and email were created for any information from the public, and on December 5, it was reported the tip line so far received more than 2,600 email tips, 2,700 phone calls, and 1,000 digital media submissions from the public. In a statement of November 15, 2022, police said they believed this was a targeted attack and that there was no immediate danger for the community. Later at the same day, police released another statement that attempted to calm fears for a killer on the loose. I'm gonna quote the police: "We hear you and we understand your fears. We determined early in the investigation that we do not believe this is an ongoing threat for community members. Evidence indicates that this was a targeted attack." It is not clear which kind of evidence the police is referring to. Just 1 day later, on November 16, 2022, police circled back from their statement, and Police Chief James Fry held a press conference making the following statement: "We cannot say there's no threat to the community, and as we have stated, please stay vigilant, report any suspicious activity, and be aware of your surroundings at all times." Now, of course, autopsies were conducted of all 4 bodies on November 17, 2022, and the coroner states that all victims were attacked in their sleep and stabbed multiple times by most probably the same large knife. At least one of the victims shows defensive wounds on their hands, concluding that they tried to fight their attacker. None of the victims had been tied or gagged, and there was also no evidence for any sexual assault. The murder weapon, believed to be this large knife, has not been found until now. So far, no suspect has been named in the case. However, the police ruled out several people, which were the surviving 2 students, the owner of the food truck, the person that drove Kaylee and Maddie home, as well as Kaylee's ex-boyfriend Jack. At a press conference on November 23, 2022, police stated they received information from multiple different sources on the possibility of Kaylee having a stalker. However, the identity and more information about the stalker are not known to the public. In another police statement from December 6, 2022, it was said the following: "We believe someone has information that will add context to the picture investigators are creating of what occurred that evening. Our focus is the investigation, not the activities. Your information, whether you believe it's significant or not, might be one of the puzzle pieces that will help solve these murders." The Moscow Police Department claimed that they are also still seeking all outside surveillance footage from several Moscow sites between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. on Sunday, November 13th. On December 7, 2022, police released another statement saying they are looking for a specific car. They are looking for a white car, which was a Hyundai Elantra of the years 2011 to 2013, which was reportedly seen in the area by the time the murders happened, and the occupants of that car might have critical information to share. It is not said if the occupants of that car looked as potential persons of interest or for now only as witnesses. In order to preserve the integrity of the investigation, the police did not release more information of the involvement of this car until now. Unfortunately, this is mainly all of the information we have until now. As I said, I don't want to go so much into speculations at this point, but I believe rather that this might be a targeted attack as well. Kaylee's father stated in an interview that Kaylee's stab wounds were way more severe than the wounds on the other students' bodies. And also the fact that Kaylee might have had a stalker could be true. So it might have been that Kaylee was actually the target of this attack and the other students were just woken up by the attack. However, we really do not know. I also saw some theories online that this might be a crime of a potential serial killer, because people were comparing the crime scene to the crime scenes of famous serial killers like Ted Bundy or Richard Speck. However, I am really not sure. I rather lean towards the theory of the targeted attack, most probably on one of the girls, but it could be anything at this point and we just don't know. Definitely, as I said in the intro already, this case is really blowing up the internet at the moment, and you can find millions of possible theories out there. And while sometimes the internet can be extremely helpful to solve those cases, I would like to warn that it can be extremely dangerous at the same time. Like, there are people named as suspects, and what if these people do not have anything to do with the cases? Like, their names will be on the internet forever, and it can ruin these people's lives. Of course, I would like to take a moment to remember the 4 victims of this absolute senseless tragedy. Madison Morgan was a senior at the University of Idaho. She was majoring in marketing. Kaylee Gonsalves was also a senior. She was majoring in general studies. The 2 girls were best friends since 6th grade. At the vigil for the murder victims, Kaylee's father said the following about their friendship. They went to high school together, then they started looking at colleges. They came here together. They eventually got into the same apartment together, and in the end, they died together, in the same room, in the same bed. Maddie's father also spoke out at the vigil. She was his only child, and his whole life was torn apart. He will forever remember her as his pride, and he would always cherish the fun they had attending music concerts together. Zaina Kernodle was a marketing major, and Ethan Champion was a junior in sports and recreation. One of the 2 surviving roommates would later say they described the couple as the perfect pair who had an unstoppable, loving relationship. She added, "I know somewhere Zaina and Ethan are together, keeping each other company, watching us, and telling us it's all okay." And with this being said, this is literally all we have so far. As I said, the police are not publishing that much information until now. This does not mean that they don't have information, but most probably they just want to protect the investigation at this point. I know that there is always movement at the crime scene, so definitely they are still looking for evidence. And investigators strongly believe that there must be some evidence remaining at the scene, as this was such a brutal attack, and the attacker most probably must have left some DNA somewhere at the scene. It is just a matter of finding it. I will make sure definitely to make an update once we receive any significant new information in this case. As I said, this is very recent, just 1 month ago, and the investigations are under process. But I wanted to talk about it because it's just everywhere in the internet right now, and I'm also thinking, like, what could have possibly happened? So for now, I would just like to extend my deepest and sincere condolences to the families. This was such a senseless attack on these young people who had their whole lives ahead of them. I really hope that this case will get solved somehow, just to give the families at least some kind of a closure, and maybe they can move on at some point. And this is all from me today. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to this video, to listen to the story of those 4 students. I would highly appreciate if you could like this video and subscribe to my channel. I would really like to know what you think, so please do not hesitate to drop me any comments. And new videos will be coming soon. Thank you so much. Bye.